My name's Aid.
I'm Dan D.
And I'm Ryan B.
And this is the slightly disappointing Devil May Cry 2, which we got in last issue, had a look at, and even with the second disc, it's just, with Lucia's missions, it's not what we were expecting from it.
It's almost as if halfway through the development they went, by heck, this isn't quite working out. And they thought, well, what can we do to get people to buy it again? Oh, I know, we'll put it on 2 discs.
Well, I mean, it's an old thing of Capcom. I mean, you got Resident Evil 2, which was fantastic, and how the two characters interacted, or how their missions split was always brilliant. But here you're kind of covering the same ground with 2 characters, the same bosses at different times, and it kind of, you just don't feel as though it's as good as the first one. I mean, part of that's because Shinji Mikami isn't involved in the development this time around.
It's got a storyline, but it's pretty non-existent. You don't really care what's going on. The first game had a lot of really nice sort of gothic architecture. This game has skyscrapers and possessed tanks and helicopters. So
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you want Dante. You want him falling on those big, like 25-foot swords, and saying things like "flock off, feather bees" and all that sort of stuff that he says.
He's got no one-liners in this one, has he?
The thing I find inexcusable about it really is that just doesn't look as good as the first one.
The old Evolution skateboarding. Not Tony Hawk's.
No. It's pretty I mean, it's a really tough task for any skateboarding game coming in, because they're always going to be held up to Tony Hawk's, which just happens to be one of the best games on PS2. But this just seems to go about it the wrong way. I mean, all this story-based nonsense they've got in there, it just doesn't work. And more than anything, the core gameplay isn't right. It's just a little bit too stilted, and like Ryan was saying, there's problems with the combos. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, for a start, the level design's totally wrong. Your skate lines drive you into dead ends, and you've got bouncer falls to correct yourself. Yeah, if you're trying to do a combo, it just automatically stops at 99,000 points. You can't get the elusive millions, which is disappointing.
But you do get boss battles, which is the added twist to this one.
I mean, what on earth's going on with them?
Spiders, skateboards. Spiders and skateboards, eh? Always giant spiders and skateboards.
It's a match made in heaven.
It's a disgrace. And this obvious. Every skateboard game out if there's ever a puzzle, just grind. I mean, just grind anything or something. You'll hit a switch, or you'll break a limb or something. I mean, it's rubbish, isn't it?
But you can skate as Solid Snake.
Yeah, but you can do that in Substance anyway. So.
Yeah, this isn't terrible, but again, it's just why? And why would you buy it? I just don't.
To see burning crabs. It's ATV quad power racing. 2.
Go for it, Dan.
It's muddy 4-wheel drive racing on a bike.
Now, see, the thing is, right, last year Acclaim didn't perform quite as well as you'd expected, but they're hitting back with ATV off-road biking.
Desert, sands,
the sport that they demanded.
Flares, lens flares. It's fantastic. No, sadly it's not.
It's not fantastic. It's not terrible. You do get lost for words.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a bit of road rash to it, as you just saw. It's got upgradable bikes,
and tricks.
Stunts. There you go. It's got it's got everything a quad bike racing game needs. But do we really care? I personally don't. I'd rather be on a scrambler or something like that. I'd rather be playing Freakstar, something that's more obviously kind of arcadey.
Well, I thought Freakstar was fairly pump as well, so that speaks volumes, to be quite honest. You got any thoughts, Ryan?
Yeah, well, I mean, looking at it, you can see how realistic the physics are. Kicking up grit and dirt, or not, as the case may be. It's hitting a certain market, but unfortunately, that market entails Rick Mail. So.
Jen, the lovely Jen, and in her many forms, changing, elusive, dark. I enjoyed this, as you probably guessed. I kind of thought it was the kind of gothic horror thing done very well, done better than Soul Reaver did it. I mean, you've got Scree here, who's a gargoyle, who can climb up certain stone surfaces, although they're quite hard to find. And just all of it makes sense. It's a little world where everything works, but ultimately it's going to be a niche appeal. And some people will get it and they'll think it's beautiful and clever, and some people will hire it and think it's a pile of old pony.
It's quite a scary game, and that you look at it and go, oh, looks a bit dark and puzzly, and you think, well, I'm not really sure I want to get involved with that. But the combat's deceptively good. There's some good sort of finishing moves using the shoulder buttons, and certainly the graphics, and maybe not the sections we're seeing here, but they're very, very crisp.
I think the whole thing that keeps it together is that it's a little world, and you always feel as though the world's bigger than what you're seeing of it. It's like when Jen dies, instead of actually dying, her real kind of physical body is caught in a coma, so when you die you just get sent back to the hospital, and then Scree has to kind of pick up energy points to bring you back to the spirit world. It's just, it's a logic that works, and you don't question it really.
To be fair, it's one of those games that came together at the 11th hour, playing early preview code. It was grotty. It didn't have the look or the sheen of say Devil May Cry 2, something like that. But they managed to pull it out of the hat at the last minute, and it's a good game.
Dr. Muto.
Oh, Dr. Muto. Yeah, kids, you don't want to be a blonde-haired kid, or you don't want to be a small kind of cat-like thing. No, you want to be a scientist with rubbish hair and big glasses.
I didn't really want to be Ratchet. I didn't really want to be Jack, but I definitely don't want to be Dr. Muto.
yeah. It's just you don't care about him. I mean, this is the cutest form that he takes, which is the mouse. And you just push yourself because you really don't care whether he lives or die. And as a result, you die too quickly, and the incentive to carry on playing just gets leached away. It's clever in places where you have to use the different mutations. I think there's a fish, a gorilla, a mouse, and Muto himself to get puzzles solved. But it's not as free roaming as Jak and Daxter. Jak and Daxter's 20 quid, Ratchet and Clank's fantastic, and there's absolutely no reason to buy this over those two if you haven't played them already.
Yeah, that's the harsh truth, really, isn't it? I mean, it's not in itself a terrible game. There's a lot to get your teeth into.
Yeah.
It's pretty deep. At times it's fairly innovative, but just from square one, when the artist walked into the boardroom and said, "Look, here's Dr. Muto," someone should have just wrestled it to the floor and ripped it to shreds and said, no, we'll start again. Because
mad scientists aren't cool.
Not since Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Certainly not. Give me another instance where they have been cool.
Centre Court Hard Hitter 2, not Centre Court Hard Hitter 1, which is going for a song, and is better value than this. This is the full price game, and it's got no real players. With Smash Court out there and the Sega tennis game, there's no real reason to go for this at all. God. Sorry.
That's a fairly damning verdict.
It's strong. It's that time of year when all the games that come in have got the whiff of 50 to 60% about them. So they're all perfectly reasonable. Again, you couldn't hate your nan for giving it to you, little, glisten-eyed, saying, it's your lovely game. But you just say, well, frankly, no, I wish you bought me one of those pre-Christmas games. And 90% at least. But, if you're swimming in cash, it's fine.
Yeah, if you're crazy about tennis, you could own the full set, but this hasn't got the mini games of other tennis games. It hasn't got the real players. But as far as tennis physics goes, it works. You have good fun.
Virtua Tennis, I think, is still the game you got to buy, isn't it?
Yeah, especially on multiplayer. The single player makes it worthwhile, as I say, with the mini games, and the multiplayer is just unbeatable. You'll just sit there for hours if you've got mates to play with.
So this isn't bad, but it's just up against some stiff competition.
Yeah, and as I said, the first one's out there for going for the 20 quid price point. So
I'm sure there's a Henman joke in there somewhere, but not one I can make right now. But there we go.
Just a limp-wristed punch of defiance.
Yeah.
Well, substance.
Yeah.
Does it really have any substance?
Hey, so you done there?
Not if you were expecting the Snake Tales to be something special, which we were. We were hoping it'd be, just some new missions, some new locations. But unfortunately, all it is Snake back on Big Shell, being called upon to do stuff which wasn't in the first game. It's not really enough to tempt us back, unfortunately.
It's basically the game for the Metal Gear Solid fan that's got everything. It explores the characters a bit more and lets you use weapons which were underused in the main game. But if you only had a passing interest in Metal Gear Solid, then not really the game for you.
It does remind you, quite how clever Metal Gear Solid is. It took a lot of criticism of Metal Gear, always all of the waffle, blah, blah, blah. But it's just, the devil's in the details for Metal Gear Solid. And you look at the VR missions in this, and they're so tightly designed, and they're just the sort of games that will sit you around in a big group of people, and someone will go, I've got to shoot 6 blokes in 30 seconds, and you'll go, easy, well, out of the way, I'll do it now. And then you'll shoot one and die and start crying. And it's just that tightness of design, which a lot of games can't do. Maybe Time Splitters 2 with the challenge missions has got it.
I mean, it's also coming packaged with Document, which was a separate disc in Japan. So, and you get to see Snake skateboard. So
which is just the evolution of skateboarding engine, really. Which, well,
but on Big Shell, there you go. There's the hook.
I think the most interesting thing about it is the actual moving first-person mode. 'Cause that puts a totally different spin on Metal Gear Solid and feels a bit strange to begin with, but it does work.
Rygar, not Maximo, not
Devil May Cry.
Devil May Cry, no. But Man with Shield in a very Devil May Cry world, but ye oldie Devil May Cry world.
So a cat is swinging around, is it?
Yeah.
Yep, shield-shaped cat on a chain. One of the innovations with this, which I liked, was it's got a fixed camera, admittedly, but you can bust up the scenery a lot more than you can in Devil May Cry. So there's alternate routes and secret locations that open up with a bit of bashage, but ultimately it's kind of it's much what we've seen before from both the games I mentioned earlier.
Isn't it fairly short as well?
I personally don't know. I haven't played it extensively.
I think it's of that ever popular 6 to 8 hours bracket, which you're just starting to get your teeth wet and you're thinking, oh, it's finished. Damn it. So this for me, I don't know what I make of this really. I mean, I just rather play Maxima.
Yeah.
But obviously, people have played Maxima and they're like, oh, well, I fancy a bit of brownie, brown games, eh? Discuss.
Has this got a UK? Anyone pick this up in the UK?
They certainly have.
Oh.
Wanted to.
There
with his little
those
beauty.
dark horses.
One of the best Wanadu games ever, in fact.
Yeah. So if you're fans of Wanadu and you've been disappointed with their output, keep an eye out. You might like this.
Fishing.
It's got the hook.
Yeah.
It's a pile of bass.
But is it a load of bass? Yes, well done.
Oh.
Okay, so this is essentially an update of bass fishing on Dreamcast, but with a 2-player mode.
Yeah.
And without the fun peripheral.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the major disappointment for me.
I think the disappointment for me is the fact that fish AI in these kind of games is just so arbitrary, and people who play the games...
Arbitrary fish AI, says the patch shop.
But people who play the games will say, oh, you didn't use the right lure there. I don't really give a monkeys, I just want to... It's just too difficult to catch, and when you do, it's just too much stress. I'd rather be doing the real thing than, trying to tempt a pixelated bass to eat something. Just doesn't seem right. I
think it's deceptive. It's the game you scoff at and go, oh, fishing, eh? Oh, don't want to look at that. And you start playing it and go, actually, this isn't bad. And I'm quite in it. And there's a big thing about it, because it is quite dull when you're waiting for it to bite. You're sat there, you have a sip of tea, and all of a sudden it's bite, oh my god, no! You're twirling the pad, and that's quite exciting. I think it's like real fishing. That's where the skill comes in.
But, there's no real pleasure in it. All you're doing is just trying to fill up your catch net with the biggest fish you can, and win tournaments and have that one elusive shot of you either holding a small fish like that,
holding
or
a big one,
or having a sneeze.
Is it Road Rash?
No.
There's something dark about it. It's Dark Summit. No, it's not. It's a snowboard game where you save the world.
It's the somewhat ironically titled Evolution Snowboarding, but it's just copied from loads of other things quite badly. I mean, the problem is, again, this is the same thing we said before. Every skateboarding game gets compared to Tony Hawk's. Every snowboarding game instantly has got to go up against SSX Tricky, which is still far and away the best snowboarding game. One of the better games on PS2, to be fair. And like this again has panicked and said, well, we can't go down the sort of high tricks route because that's been done better. We tried realism before and it wasn't working. How about we put in this wacky story where we're sending it to the man with whip chains and snowboards?
I think only yesterday we were talking about the idea that, you know, why should innovation be pushed? Because you know, something else is better in the genre, you know, and when it is innovation, why, you know, I mean, this is hardly innovation, it's just copying, as you say.
It's differentiation, if we want to talk like marketing beanpoles, but it's not actually exciting.
No.
But you say in the pack, all new story mode, huzzah!
Yeah.
But I'm fairly angst-ridden, but I don't feel the need to send it to the man with a big bat on a snowboard. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think the Evolution, was it the earlier Evolutions? No, what was the Konami one?
ESPN.
ESPN, I'll get it right. They actually did have a something different because they went the hardcore route. This is just, you know.
This has got winged demons and bats in it. It's party time.
Party time for the
Shrek
ogre.
Party time.
Yay.
No, I don't hate this. It's very natural to see a game that says the word party
And Shrek.
and Shrek and think this is danger. But there's 30 games in there for your Quidditch.
4-player multiplayer madness.
Yeah, mayhem. And it isn't bad. Like, the voices are pretty decent. There's only a few characters get Lord Farquaad, or however you say his name.
Farquaad.
Yeah, and you get Shrek and Donkey, and that's all nice.
So there's Pinocchio in the back there.
Yeah, little Pinocchio laying down some tunes, and there's all these little mini games which are basically completely stolen from like the entire back history of video game mini game. You know, you've got your Tetris clone, you've got your sort of Boulder Dash running around a maze, you've got like a Bomberman game, but these are the ones that work really, really well. And the only time it ever falls down really is when they go into the sort of, oh, we've become a wacky kart racer, because clearly the game hasn't been designed to be a good kart racer, so it just handles like a load of nonsense.
But if you've got a multi-tap, then you know you are going to have fun with this. I mean, graphically it's not challenging, but at the same time, you know,
Good one for the kids.
no, good one
Not
for
really.
anyone.
No, well, not especially, but I mean, it's a game that if your mate had it for some reason and you pulled it out, and then he said, "Great, let's play it," you'd have
You'd
a
probably
lot
run
of
away.
fun. You'd rattle through it. But Joel and I sat down and we had a good half hour of fun playing this. I mean, look at this. You can pretty much guess. You press X and 0, and I like that in a game.
Zaid?
Hello, I'm Dan G.
And I'm Marcus. And this is a Johnny game. Let's be cool.
This is not technically a Johnny game in the strictest, most robotic sense of the word, is it?
No, it's a platformer that I ended up playing, so yes, it's a Johnny game. Not that bad actually. It's not as dire as some of the things we've seen come through the office lately. But then again, not that brilliant. The thing that got me the most was, there you go, all cherries collected. And do you know what the cherries mean? No. Cherries mean points.
Oh, good.
Good old-fashioned points that do absolutely nothing as
What do
far
points
as
mean?
So you can still eat the ghosts though.
Yeah, you know, there's all the old elements of Pac-Man in there, eating ghosts, being chased by large cuddly creatures. No.
Bless.
And there's the mazes, so you can kind of open up secret levels where you'll play a kind of 2D version, or 2D come 3D version of the old game. So
This game's been hanging about for ages, hasn't it? It's sort of been on.
yeah, I think the thing was that, and it goes twing. The thing was the you had Ratchet and Clank, you had Ape Escape, so Sony brought out every other decent platformer, and then this is at the bottom of the pile.
And this is possibly the best bit.
Well, yeah, the old Namco,
Original game.
the old Namco arcade section. Yeah, you find coins which are actually quite sparsely placed throughout the game. So you've got to play a hell of a long time before you get to play this.
And it's ultimately kind of alright-ish platform game in a sea of good platform games.
Ah, Splinter
Yeah.
Cell.
Good.
Good.
In a word.
Yes.
Very good.
Buy this.
Yeah, no, this is kind of really doing it for me. This is.
I think the thing was, I mean, you know, we kind of always had the Xbox version. Curse me for saying it. But we always had it lurking at the back of our minds. And then when this turned up, we were all pleasantly surprised at how well it looked and how well it played. It's a very, very good game.
If you're going to be pedantic, yes, it clearly isn't quite as good as a competing version. But my word, this is fantastic, isn't it? Surely.
Look at that.
The PS2.
Just the basic premise that you can shoot lights out and it gets darker, therefore the enemies can't see you. There's not enough of that. Just not enough of that.
Simple pleasures.
I'm amazed at the how well the PS2's done the lighting effects in this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It still looks incredible.
Yeah, there's bits in the shadows when you go to the kind of you drop your little helmet and it all goes in black and white and stuff. The shafts of light and stuff are fantastically well done.
Big thing with this game is that even though essentially it's quite linear, the trick is that you can do pretty much anything you want.
Yeah. It is a big long corridor of action that you kind of walk down.
But it gives you a feeling of freedom, doesn't it?
That's exactly it. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's how wide the corridor is, you see. And the corridor on this one is very wide. Like 2 hospital corridors put side by side.
An amazing
Well, now,
gadget.
if you're all confused, so am I. Very good gadget. Fire this thing at a wall. Shloop. Hits the wall. You can make a noise and you gas the man who comes in. And that is brilliant.
Genius.
Look at that light.
It's
Now
all right.
that's light.
You can't be happy with that frame rate. Though.
I'm not happy with the frame rate, but I'll overlook it. Great game. If you like Metal Gear, you like that.
My money is on Tenchu.
In what way? What, you really like this?
No, not my actual money. I just mean like just looking at all those things coming up, and I thought it was Tenchu. That's all I'm saying.
And I think you're right.
Tenchu 3, in fact,
Wise
Wrath
choice.
of Heaven.
No, this is good. And it kind of quite a limited way. The environments are still small, but the amount of stuff you can do, similar in fact to Splinter Cell. There's a lot of things and a lot of ways you can get from A to B. And there's the new kanji kind of build-up meter. You see if you look down in the bottom left-hand corner, the symbols light up every time you do a stealth kill. Fill in all 10 of them, and you get a new ability. So there's some really cool things that the ninjas can do this time around.
And some pretty brutal finishing moves as
Lots of gore.
Lots of gore, lots of decapitations, and
Joel, God rest his soul, he's no longer with us. Yeah, he didn't take
Yeah,
that.
we killed him.
Might be news to his mum, but yeah.
He didn't take that kindly to this. I don't think.
It's full. It's full. That's why we killed him.
See, I was a big fan of the original on PS1, and to me this looks exactly the same.
I think the argument me and Joel had was he did a level, and he did it one way, which was very hacky, slashy, choppy, and I discovered that you could actually go out of one of the windows and creep across the rooftop.
Yeah.
And perform a silent kill with encountering only kind of 3 or 4 enemies. So
It's all about silent kills. I think if you actually step out in the open and start fighting, it kind of becomes a bit of a shambles.
Jurassic Park.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Theme park with dinosaurs. There you go. I've said it.
Music's brilliant in this.
Music's very loud.
Switch us off by clicking down on the second analog stick and listen to the music.
I think the ultimate frustration though is the fact that you want things to screw up. Otherwise, it's just once you've got the system sorted out, and it takes a while to do that. It's quite a complex system. And once you've got everything up and running, you want disaster to happen.
You want to see dinosaurs eat people? don't you?
Yeah, and the only way you can do that is just by sort of saying,
Like deliberately sabotaging your own park.
yeah. It's like this, kind of, Sim City, when it gets to that point where you just don't care about it anymore. And
It looks alright. The graphics engine is very capable. Often you find that they put an awful lot into the kind of AI going on in the background, and the actual graphics are a bit clunky. This is working. It's doing it.
There's also the frustration though, because when you're learning or going through the learning process, there's lots of times when the dinosaurs just end up in places and you're looking at it going, oh, how are they over there? And then you realise you haven't built a section of wall.
I'm not convinced the dinosaurs are actually very big. It's like they're human sized, and it's like a model village. Rather than them actually being.
Yeah, I think the problem with this is it's a bit too lightweight, really. Starts off well.
And just in time for the film as well.
Vex.
And
Came
it's
back,
magic
went away.
gloves.
We kicked it. We kicked it really hard and solidly in the face, and it disappeared, and then came back better.
Yeah.
Not saying that it was our
Yeah.
we're responsible, but
Kicked it, people complained, but ultimately made it better.
Yeah, and now it's actually not that bad. There's
All right.
some clever little bits to it.
Personally, I'm really, really bored of these kind of games. Not Vex in particular, but these kind of games now. I've seen enough of them to last me a lifetime.
Well, there's a whole lot more on the way as well, you'll be glad to hear. So,
Really?
yeah.
Just looking at that, this doesn't say I'm Vex and I'm anything different
No.
to anything you've ever seen before.
Jack and Daxter 2, ooh, you know.
I was running about in
I'm
this.
mildly interested in that, but I'm not in this.
What about Tak and the Power of Juju? No?
Well, Griffiths,
Sphinx.
you've seen that.
I'm more interested in tackling this. Within about a minute of this, I was stood on a platform and there was one moving in front of me and I was waiting for the right moment to get in front of me. And if I failed that jump, I fell all the way down to the bottom.
It's got some really clever moments. I don't know if we show any on here, but there's a bit where there's a 2D freeze kind of that goes around a room, and you actually kind of fall into it, and then you end up in a kind of a 2D section. So
There's a
Yeah.
super cool bit where you get into this like giant's house, like Lilliput or something, and then he's got a games console, and you can jump into the screen and play a game within a game. Isn't that weird?
wow.
And
Yeah.
a big giant sumo as well.
It sounds like
They
there's
whack his ass.
clever ideas, but just too much very basic platforming for me. Hey!
Savage Skies.
Sorry, I
Savage Skies.
said earlier on today, it's dogfighting with birds.
This started out with Ozzy
That makes
Osbourne
a
in
lot.
it, didn't it?
Yeah, and he rightly took his name off it and went on to do...
Skies and
Hey?
yes.
Yeah, you keep the TV show. We got the game, all right, pal?
Yeah.
Let's go there.
Yes.
Well, what can you say? Hey, look at it.
It's like Starfighter, but with fantasy creatures.
Only not as
Not
good.
exactly as good as that sounds.
That's his USP.
What was that
Yeah.
rubbish dragon game? Not
Draken.
no, not Rain of Fire.
Oh, that
either.
3DO one.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, so good. You can't even remember the name of it.
Dragon rubbish.
Dragon
something like that,
Rage.
wasn't it? Dragon sauce.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like that.
It's actually slightly better than
And he gets
that.
to ride giant owls and giant bats.
And there's,
Do you? Owls.
there's three
Wicked.
armies and kind of submissions and owls.
Oh, look at that meter thing up the left-hand side.
Well, look at all the meters. There's a lot of stuff you've got to get your head around.
Oh, crumbs.
It's a world of
Yeah,
radars,
they're-
isn't it?
They're really ticking me off. That's a lot of meters. Fly around, shoot stuff on a bat.
Don't die. There's actually some race sections where they've lifted bits straight out of anyone who played the Jack and Daxter kind of through the hoops thing. There's stuff like that in there as well, but that's pretty much the high point.
Next.
Mystic Heroes.
Oi.
I came in then because all of you were looking at the screen absolutely dumbfounded. This is called Mystic Heroes.
Thank God you're in.
Isn't this Dynasty Warriors?
Dynasty Warriors for kids.
Yeah, and it's by Koei,
Oh, all right.
and it's
that's a
actually
surprise.
quite reasonable. I mean, it's Dynasty Warriors to an almost embarrassing point where you just wade in with your little super deformed character and just whack, 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 kill a million blokes, run to the next part of the map, whack, 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 and you throw a few magic balls like that. That's quite nice.
Yeah.
And you know, but
But it's
yeah,
fun.
it's fun. Whether you think it's fun, 40 quid and go out and buy it, I don't know. But there is a particularly good 4-player. By particularly good, I mean nowhere near as good as something like PES, but pretty decent nevertheless.
I mean, does it suffer from the same thing as Dynasty Warriors? That, you know, loads of lovely stuff going on in the foregrounds and the backgrounds are all a bit.
It's all a bit 3 metre. The fog has descended miraculously again.
What the hell's that? It's an
Not enough
elephant.
magic.
We're fighting in a swamp. Environmental conditions are poor.
You can never have enough magic.
But you can collect. There's loads of like rune spells to collect, so you bash people and you get new stuff as you go along. So there's sort of an element of one-player progression.
Right. And how many people do you get fighting alongside you? Is it 4 like you do?
Yeah, you get all your fellow Dayglow chums and you fight big monsters and stuff like that. And
Ooh.
it's just kind of, you know, sheer playable fun.
I don't know whether kids want this though. I think they'd want a kid's version of GTA, to be honest. I'd like to see Rockstar do that. Beautiful.
For Johnny's children.
Good point. Well made.
Dark Angel. James Cameron's Dark Angel. Can't say no
Well,
more.
Of all the Dark Angels, this is my favourite.
Yes, indeed.
The
Not
old
the Angel
ones.
of Darkness, but the
best.
Dark Angel. Mutant Girl, Cat DNA, TV program that was canned, and now Game of TV program, which is okay as a third-person action adventure.
As in a 50%.
As in 50% okay,
Yeah.
which is 50% okay.
The first half of the game's
It's
brilliant.
50% bad.
And that's all they
Yeah.
made. They just gave up after making half of
It
it.
was canned halfway through the development.
I'm looking forward to. Oh yeah, here's in
so if she's a cat, then what can she do?
Well, there you go. She can pick people up.
Cough up fur ball?
Yeah. and drink sources of milk. Can't take her anywhere near radiators because she falls asleep. Some of the combat moves are good.
Likes
and
to curl up on the bonnet of the car.
One of the problems with this is that no weapons. Is that right?
there is one weapon. She gets a
One.
stealth gun. Stealth gun.
Yeah.
And she can.
A stealth gun. Like they're doing that.
She pulls her face and people fall over.
Disappears.
Right.
But yeah, no. Apart from that, it's all hand-to-hand stuff.
Feel a bit on
All very on-y, all very bullet time, and all a bit dull. The stealth sections are probably the worst.
Do you think
because,
James Cameron's happy with this?
I think James Cameron's happy with anything at the moment. I mean, you know, Solaris.
Sweet dreams.
ISS 3.
Am I the only one that doesn't understand how the
Yes,
same
you are,
company-
Dan.
Yes,
You
you are.
clearly are the
What
only man
are
in
they
the world.
doing?
I'm
What is
sick
it
of
all
writing
about?
sentences saying,
I don't get it.
no,
either.
ISS pairs, this is the difference for you, Dan Griffiths. This is, I'm confused myself now. This is ISS, which is, I believe, Major A's football game,
Indeed,
not
yeah.
the people who make pairs.
It's
You
the
all
same
know
people
that.
who made the N64
Yeah,
ISS.
What?
yes. And this is a good game of football, and it's really close between whether you get this or FIFA. I think FIFA probably nudges it because it's got better licensing. But something to pick up and play straight away. This is really, really instant, really, really good football. They've really worked hard on the little touches, like when you score a goal, the announcer will go, "Oh, Shearer's just scored," or something like that, and you'll have the manager running up and down the line gesticulating. There's a new skill move when you get in the box. I think you tap L1, don't quote me on that, and he does like a shimmery sort of skill move where you beat a man in a close-up. That's really, really good. All you could say about it, it's a little bit predictable, the passing patterns compared to, say, PES.
It just hasn't got the depth, has it?
No. But, you know,
It's not designed to, though, is it? You didn't want to compete.
The pick up
Yeah.
and play game is it's pretty good, really.
I think Konami themselves are surprised by how good this is, this new version.
So which one's the best then?
War of the Monsters or War of Monsters?
Or of the monsters.
War of the Monsters. You see, big difference.
Fun game doesn't last you very long.
No, even with the multiplayer.
That's the end of the review, Johnny.
Yeah. Okay.
What I was
That's well.
disappointed in with this was the fact that there's no 4-player mode,
No, there's a two-player mode.
which I
You can
found
play
surprising.
dodgeball and things like that. But yeah, I mean, even with those, it's kind of you do get tired pretty quickly. Not very quickly, but pretty quickly.
If Joel was here, God rest his soul, I think he'd love this.
Do you think so?
Yeah, he likes hitting things and he likes brainless fun occasionally.
Breaking
Yeah.
things, hitting people with the things that he's broken.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think for 10 minutes, anyone's got to think this
Yeah.
is the best game ever. Because, I mean, no, seriously. Like, I mean, you pick up one of those, like, big turrets and you whang it through the other bloke's chest and he goes, "God, you've whanged a thing in my chest!" And that's really, really good. And the choice of monsters is really, really good.
And they've obviously put a lot of thought into it. It does look
Yeah, it's
really
got a
nice.
real B-movie feel. I mean, it's from the same people who did Twisted Metal Black,
And you
so
go, whang!
they've definitely kind of done their research on the old B-movies, B monster movies. So
And you can pretty much pick up most things and throw them around, can't you?
yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
nice. Well, you can kick anything in.
It's just not an alluring theme for a video game. 1950s B-movie monsters fighting. It's just like, yeah, nah, don't bother, mate. Do like
You're mad. I think it's quite a good idea for a
not
100-foot
interested.
monsters fighting in an indestructible city.
Fight!
Brilliant.
Here's the grown-up version.
It's like Mystic Warriors, but
Here's
for
the
adults.
adult version. Triple X, Mystic Warriors.
Just confused the two names though.
Yeah, Dynasty
Warriors.
Yeah, okay.
So the idea, just walk into a crowd, twang about a bit with a big stick, and then move on to the
put
next
off some
crowd.
magic.
Now you see, now you say that, but
Press the
they've
button
got a
loads of
new
times.
bodyguard system, which means that there's a crew that follow you around. You can upgrade them. You can make them tougher. You get special magical attacks. You've got items now that you can spread out among your people. And then there's boss battles all scattered across the map. So you kind of, dealing with the foot soldiers and then kind of trying to find boss battles.
But sell it to me though.
I thought I was. I thought we did quite a good job there. Maybe not. Yeah, 2-player co-op, head-to-head, challenge modes. But the thing about this, it's Extreme Legends, we mustn't forget, which means that it's actually Dynasty Warriors 3.5, not Dynasty Warriors 4.
That's the clever compatibility thing.
Kind of. I mean, it should be. It's okay if you play Dynasty Warriors 3 because you can just upload all the saves and carry on where you left off pretty much with a whole new range of extreme challenges. But if you haven't got Dynasty Warriors 3, you're pretty much stuck to play through the whole thing twice, which isn't good.
No, rubbish.
Dakar.
What is this? Is this
I thought
Dakar?
we'd seen the brownest game ever. but
There's a lot of brown.
this game is really.
Look at the rain.
Well, the problem was Dakar was all right, and I don't know what they've
Paris
done in
Dakar.
the
I know,
first
no.
one.
Paris Dakar, but then they lost the Paris license. So now it's just Dakar.
I mean, the
I don't
cars
know.
admittedly are okay, but the bikes. Has anyone played the bikes?
There we are.
Oh.
Oh, this is just depressing me. Look at it. Why would you want to play a rainy, dark game?
Now later on,
I want to escape from reality into video games.
And that's like your real life.
Yeah.
All a bit brown.
When I leave the office, this is how I get
Yeah,
home.
when I race home from Dakar. That's better. How's that?
Yeah, the trucks are all right.
Driving a turbo milk float.
You didn't think it was too
Through the
bad, did you, Dan?
I didn't think it was too good.
No.
I'll say that I quite like the road racy bits. Very, very long tracks. If you don't like circuits, they kind of repeat themselves really quickly.
What I'd like is like a
Long
proper
point-to-point
race from
races.
Paris to Dakar.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Like Le Mans 24, we could actually play for 24
No.
hours. No.
It's
24
just
hours
got,
on one track.
it's just got nothing outstanding about it, though, has it?
Yeah.
I like the desert races where you go sort of where there's no sort of preset map, and all your opponent cars kind of go around the rocks, and you can go up cliffs and go around rocks, and this got thing kind of head them off at the pass and stuff. That's quite interesting and novel.
It's very competent. It just reeks of like safe games development, where they release the game once it's sold, and they say, "Well, we'll just do it again."
Hey, who's this?
Monsieur Golf, as it's known in France. To us, it's Mr. Golf. It's by the people who made Everybody's Golf. theme
Mr.
is
Golf. Everybody is golf.
Is this really by the people who made Everybody's Golf?
Yes, it is.
That
I'm
was
gonna
really
ask
nice.
again.
But it's not as good as
Mr.
Everybody's
Golf.
Golf.
Yeah, no, that's what
Maybe it's the effect of Tiger Woods. It's distorted your memory, where you think of Everybody's Golf better than it really was.
Everybody's Golf was brilliant.
But Tiger Woods
Yeah,
is
but
brilliant.
The new Tiger Woods is so
no,
brilliant.
easily.
You know, you've got to say, hats off to it. It's a really good game, and it
Yeah.
does that element of comedy, but ultra realism. Really intuitive, dead brilliant game.
But-
Dan,
but-
you'd agree.
But by taking Tiger Woods, which is kind of serious, proper version of a very dull sport, and then they've kind of lightened it up a bit so that it's kind of fun to play. It's more fun. It's actually better than real golf. There isn't a gap at the bottom for your Mr. Golf little comedy blokes anymore.
It's not quite comedy enough either. This is like, the mechanics are quite, they're not super hardcore, but it's very similar to Tiger Woods, where you use the right analog to swing back. To go forward, you've got to worry about your stance, your pitch, your fade, choice of club.
Hey, you don't want that. You want mini games.
Well, yeah, so
Crazy golf.
A little Jiminy kid's going to come on and go, "Oh, Daddy, I'm so confused." And like, when he might say that, and you either want to pitch at the bottom end of the market, or pitch a lot higher up. Perfectly decent.
This
but
is
you
lost somewhere in between, isn't it?
get- Yeah,
Yep.
it is lost somewhere. in
It's got-
between.
Win, no,
It's caught between two stools.
lose.
And that's never good. Yay.
There's Joel getting
Where
beaten
is
up.
Joel? That is
Oh, God rest his soul.
Joel, aka No Name.
There is an
There
action.
he is on top. Pride, very violent, quite a basic, fun, simple video game of a sport which isn't very big in the UK but has its fans. As far as fighting goes, it's good because it is Tekken-y, very sort of instant, and then it's got the wrestling elements come out when you sort of get into grapples. So it's a real kind of mix of stuff. You benefit from knowing the bit about the sport, to be honest, and all this kind of makes sense. Very much like UFC, rather than a beat 'em up. A real cross between a stand-up punch kick beat 'em up and a wrestling game then. But ultimately, whether it's just the fans of the actual sport that are going to understand it and really kind of
Where's it
love
going to fit in? That's the thing. I mean,
it's 20
it's not wrestling.
Identical men in pants just throwing largely the same moves, like cuddling on the floor, which is quite boring. Quite tactical grapple system. It's like scissors, paper, stone. Where if I don't pull out a pair of scissors, and you go stones. But like if I go grapple, you go block or something like that, and you've got to kind of.
Do they throw out the same moves, or do you have specialists in each field?
Yeah, the moves.
Yeah,
the
but
moves
the people who always win in the books you can grapple. It's really boring.
Winner, Joel.
God rest his soul.
And they've watched
Hey, little dance for us, Joel.
Little did he know what was to come.
Bless him.
I don't know.
Let's not be too hasty. Let's be a bit hasty.
Oh, look at it though.
No, but it's
No, actually, look at it though. No, it's the technically brilliant. Look at that. Look how fast, smooth.
They haven't done much wrong with it, have they? Really?
No.
Technically, they have got it totally sussed out,
And it does sell, so there must be fans of Rayman.
They've made these enormous areas to explore and stuff, and it sells shed loads. But somehow, it just kind of leaves me a little bit cold.
Somehow it hasn't got the appeal of Jak and Daxter, has it?
Yeah,
or Ratchet and Clank.
Ratchet's our favourite.
Rayman's got a big image problem, and they've tried to address that in this game by making it self-aware. I'm not even going to go into it because this finished.
What the blazes is this?
That's your mum. That's your mum, see?
I know my mum,
it's-
and that's not her.
This is
hang
Galarian's,
about.
Galarian's Ash. Their eyeballs. That's your mum. And you've got brain
Stop
powers.
saying that's my mum. It's upsetting me.
And you've got to fight her.
explain this whole brain system to me.
Okay, you take drugs,
Right.
and using drugs you can use different attacks.
You've got telepathic powers, haven't you?
Yeah, so you don't
Enhanced
actually
drugs.
ever pull a game, and basically, I mean, if you want to how it translates, it's like a spell system. You've got no hand-to-hand combat. You've got no weapons. You just use 3 or 4 different types of magic spell, but they're kind of different depending on what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And you take drugs to enhance them.
Yeah, and then you take drugs to stop your brain exploding as well. There's a bit
Right.
where
You go into like a meltdown.
yeah, you've got a bar over on the far left-hand side, we just saw there. And the more you use your powers, the more there's a chance of you reaching this stage where you just go a bit mental, a bit scanners, and people's heads around you start blowing up. So it's kind of dark and grim, but I mean, the thing that really upset me
Just grim.
more than anything else was the amount of busy work they'd put in, which was just, there's times, I think you have to play the first section of the game twice or 3 times, and then you've got a hell of a lot of running around underpopulated areas to find a key to go back over the same ground. It just makes you want to die.
Everblue 2.
Now this is more like it.
You all remember the original one?
I actually did play the original one.
I love the original one.
Is this one of those games that we get
check
sent?
it.
We get sent for review while it's on the shelves.
Yeah.
Yes.
It arrives on a finished disc.
Yeah.
So what's different then, eh? Come on.
Look, well, you can swim up and down.
Yeah.
Well, no, I know. The thing is the analog stick here always wants to make you look at the ground, so you're perpetually trying to push your head up, which wasn't in the last one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's as though you kind of got a really heavy sea helmet on.
See, this stuff is kind of new, where you actually sort of explore a 3D space. I'm boasting that this is
underwater.
I'm boasting that this is amazing, but it's like the last one really was crap. And this one's having a go. Look at that! It's all about
You can take pictures.
yeah. You swim about and you're looking for
Conga
s-
eel.
Is that
something
that's
treasure.
not that's a more eel
Is
there,
it?
Johnny?
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
Very small.
So
It looks quite bright and
hello,
sprightly
what's that
though.
over there?
Oh.
You found old.
Now it's
diary.
Dad's diary.
You see, and some of the things that you find, you take them back to the town, you sell them to the people there, and they say, "Oh, this reminds me of the wreck that's over there to the west," and you can go there. So
Oh no! See, I just like to go underwater and take photos of fish.
talk to the fish.
Yeah.
Pick up old bottles and.
Yeah.
There's
So-
a glass.
Hey, that's
Sharks.
more like it.
Danger.
Benjamin Hur.
Benjamin.
I'm quite impressed by how fast this looks.
It's all about the Benjamin.
Look at it; it's quite fast.
Oh my word! This is
That's not the
outrageous.
least bit like real.
Look at the way the
chariot
horses
racing.
move.
Rocket-powered
It's
chariot.
ridiculous.
Fight! Hack,
Right.
hack, 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 hack. Run!
This is another game. Look at those meters. What's going on? What are you racing? Are you fighting?
You're doing a bit of both.
Doing a bit of everything.
You've got magic attacks.
Oh,
You've got tridents.
There's loads of power-ups, and you have like a finite number of projectile weapons, and you pick up orbs that increase your speed, and you get tired, and your horses get tired. You've got all this stuff to worry about.
It may as well be blocks of cheese pulled by tractors because, I mean, there's no concession at all to the period, is there? I mean, it's just an absolute.
Oh, the music is fantastic. That's the only good thing.
music is good, yeah.
It is good, yeah. It really does set the scene. I feel like you're in
Shame
Egypt.
about the rest of it, really.
Yeah.
The thing that made me laugh, they can't even boast that it's the best chariot racing game on PS2.
Yeah,
because
to that bench.
Circus Maximus is better than that.
Yeah. And I think the thing is that if you get involved in any fight and not concentrate on your racing, you won't come in first.
No.
As simple as that.
It's just this fudging this object around tracks, rattling into stuff. Little meters, little targets going off, firing rockets willy-nilly.
It's just a mess.
You just don't know what you're racing about. You know, what's going on?
Fight!
Fight. What?
Whack, whack,
Who?
whack him.
I agree with your opinion.
That's good of you.
Oh,
Just what you needed, a bit of horse racing.
Staring at 20 blokes' arses for half an hour. Brilliant.
Now you see, if they put swords in this and
Yeah.
power-ups...
You can't
Yeah.
kick people off,
Okay,
can you?
that was just a...
But there's... I mean, the horse racing bit's not too bad, but there's a lot of all this nonsense about
The horse racing bit's not too bad if you can get your
Stables
head
and
round the whole kind of... I've got a
management.
gently tap the pad to get the pace going, and then in the last section, get the whip out and knacker your horse.
It's one of the least accessible games ever.
I mean, it's not even press X
it's
to
the
go.
best horse riding game on PS2, though, isn't it?
Well, yeah, of course it is.
There's this huge sort of
No great bow
backstory
definition.
adventure game, isn't there, where you get to...
You're going to appeal to some people with this because they've got no other choice.
Well, apparently in Japan, this is as big as Championship Manager, so...
They love it.
Yeah.
I think because the actual horse racing mechanic is so simple, they have this adventure game where you talk to little cardboard cutout men and ladies in the stables and stuff.
Just like some sort of terrible soap opera.
If you've always wanted to be a jockey but you're really tall and heavy, then
This is the game for you.
Do you ever wish you were little?
Saw off your legs and go on a diet. 'Cause
Yeah.
this is not the way to enjoy it. It's all well and good. The stats are fine.
Yeah.
I'm really worried I'm going to cause someone to a horrific injury.
Yeah. It's Dan Dawkins.
Do you know what the worst thing for me is? There's no betting. If I had
You
betting...
can't even gamble.
No, you can't gamble.
Oh.
There's lots of
look
this though,
at
lots
that.
of screens like this.
Lots of this fella.
A brawn.
Bye.
Get off.
That's right, folks.
Hi, I'm Ed.
This is Johnny.
This is Dan D.
This is Dan G. And this is NBA Street.
2.
Indeed. World of difference from the first one.
2 being the second in the series, and a lot in the first in the series. The first game was initially quite dazzling and quite impressive, but when you played it through for a couple of goes, you thought, yeah, pretty bored of this. But this game actually seems to have a lot more depth to it.
It's worth remarking on this court here, which is featured in the film Finding Forrester with Sean Connery. The makers of the game actually saw Finding Forrester and went, what a lovely basketball court, and they've recreated it exactly.
How the devil do you know that?
That's what happens when you get chatting to people that make video games, and they tell you things like that.
Well.
Yes. But, rest of the game, fantastic. I don't particularly like proper basketball games, but I do like NBA Street because it's really, really easy. More than any other basketball game, it's all a matter of you play it's your turn to have a go at scoring, and then it's their turn to have a go at scoring. And whoever fails to score is the loser. You really do sort of trade shots, one against the other, all the way through.
Yeah, what they've done this time, they've made the players feel really individual. So it's not just a case of like getting 3 like 9-foot bean poles and that you score every time and can block everything. Now you really do need the little tricky players who can do the little roll around in the floor tricks, and you need a good mixture of players all the way through. Makes it a lot better game. It's much more balanced.
Very good commentary as well.
A fantastic
A
commentary.
man who never repeats himself. Music. 3,000. That's quite a number of years early.
That's right. It's 2,998 times better than Music 2.
Okay. It's good, isn't it? The one thing I think about the music games, and it's always happened with all the music games, is very, very complicated. A lot of every single button on the pad being used, and the process of getting something out of your mind through the PS2 and then back into your ears is very, very complicated. It will drive most people a little bit balmy.
But this is what they've worked on quite acutely, and that they've developed this little USB whistle mic where you can go, and the next thing you know, you're listening to DJ Sammy or something.
It's a bit hit and miss, though.
It's a wee bit hit and miss. And that, as we said in the review last month, we tried to whistle the Eminem song, and it came out like the Benny Hill theme tune.
It's all right. I think it's a great improvement on the previous one, but it's just never quite as good as you think it's going to be. I don't think. And
especially when you come to the video.
And the
editing.
video graphic.
Yeah, they've improved though. It's a lot better than the last time. Those 3D shapes. I mean.
Yeah, but I mean, if you had
Look at that. It's an actual.
If you saw a song.
Yeah.
Saw a song with that. I mean, that's saying go out and buy this song now.
It's not top of the pops, but I mean, if this was obviously it isn't. But if we were living back in the early '90s, brilliant.
This is a Odyssey Gear X.
Now this is going to be hard to explain.
Going insane.
We need Joel. Joel,
come back,
we
Joel.
need Joel to defend his 85% score. 84%.
Yeah, you see, Joel reviewed this, and he's a bit mad for the beat 'em up genre, and the 2D beat 'em up genre is live and well and living in Joel's head. No, very good, well done. I don't want to play this.
It's very, very nice looking game though, isn't it? It's very well respected, especially in Japan.
It's
still a 2D beat 'em up.
Yeah, quality. It's things have marched on a bit. I do like in 2D beat 'em ups, the special moves are that bit more special than in a genuine sort of like full on 3D.
There's always that capacity
fighters.
for total insanity with 2D beat 'em ups, whereas
things exploding, things firing out of people's eyes and stuff. It doesn't really happen.
Yeah,
enough in
compared
3D
to
beat 'em
say
ups.
like the po-faced technical insanity of Virtua Fighter 4, this is quite a refreshing change where you can like throw a tremendous great piano on someone's head, for example, or it's got a sense of humour, which you've got to say is a good thing, even if it is a 2D beat 'em up.
But yeah, old school. 84%. Do bear in mind that's 84% for people who like 2D beat 'em ups. Really.
Yeah, all two of you. This is great.
You're gonna love it.
Yeah.
The rest of us, I think, on the beat 'em up front, you're better off with Evo.
Mortal Kombat at the moment.
MK, bit of Tekken 4 perhaps. Not this.
Just what you needed, another light gun game, but this time
Just like Jesse.
in the Wild West.
Yes.
Well, what can you say about this? Really?
Not an awful
Not a
lot.
It's an average light gun game with a dodge function, but yeah, you're up against cowboys.
Yeah.
So Time Crisis in the Wild West.
Time Crisis back in time.
I mean, that was good.
Yeah. No. Who's developing this?
Rebellion, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
This is a little bit of one of those blink your eyes and before you can say review code is that in the shops, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the game they didn't want us to review.
It looks all right. It does. I mean, look at it. It looks okay. Things have been moving about. It's too much like Time Crisis.
I mean, if you've invested in a gun
ducking
con,
and the diving.
then
Yeah.
you're going to be looking forward to anything that comes along that means you can use it. I mean, if you actually enjoy using it, so.
And there's various mini games in that as well.
Or if you really like cowboys.
We've reached that stage now, clearly, of like granny tricking saturation, where they can just throw anything on the shelves and hope that someone's going to pick it up. Not saying this title necessarily is one of those
Hey,
games.
look at that. Bit of variety. Kinda.
You're on a wagon.
I thought just flying sideways.
I'm glad you said you're on a wagon. I was trying to figure out what the mode of transport
was going on.
And here we are, one of the mini games. Shoot some bottles.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Does the barman give you a shot of red eye if you win?
No.
No.
Oh.
This would be
Oh,
Choplifter
come on.
then.
Oh.
Ah, yes, choplifter.
Process of lifting chops.
Yeah. Big lamb chops,
Cool.
pork chops.
They're all in here.
Yeah, not on these screens here, but they do exist,
Big
honest.
hungry man lost his chops. You got to get yourself in there in your helicopter.
It's another one of those.
Pick them up, winch them to safety.
Yeah.
It's another one of those flight sims that make full use of the analog controls as well. So
Brilliant.
You spend your whole life
Oh, this bit's rubbish.
trying to figure out what's going on.
This bit's the bit where you're kind of chasing a car.
You just have to keep it in your spotlight.
Yeah, it's like the fairgrounds, the old granny's fairground thing with the wire moving the loop of wire along the curly bit of wire without it buzzing. Like that, only in a video game with helicopters.
They always make the interface difficult. It's never made easy.
Yeah, it's just got to keep the thing in your spotlight. Too far. Oh no, it's getting away. Da, da, da. No, that's not what fun is.
So this is a non-combat helicopter scene.
You just drive through hoops.
Look at that.
A bit like pilot wings or something.
Well, no, Sky Odyssey's like, you know, the last nearest and dearest,
Yeah.
and that was pretty good. And this is just frustrating.
Yeah, Sully's the good name of Choplifter.
If you want non-combat helicopter sim, can I just say City Crisis?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
Not
good.
bad.
Not bad at all.
alright.
Yeah.
Better than that. I've played a lot of this. Shinobi.
Yeah.
No.
Really?
Yeah, I think no as well.
In the kind of
What's
phrase,
wrong with it?
It's the hardest game in the world. No, it's got some terrible jumps where if you do a jump and you don't do it, rather than just falling down to the lower level and having to run back up the stairs again, you die and you have to start the level again. And
that's
in
too
the midst of fighting things like this coming at you, you fall off an edge, you have to start again. That combined with it being very, very repetitive, I mean, really, yes, kill all these things, run on a little bit more, kill some more things.
Look at that scarf though. That's lovely.
Yeah, the scarf is.
Oh.
That is without doubt the best thing about it. Things don't like to be hit in the front; they prefer to be hit in the back. So you have to run around them. It's just no, I didn't like it at all. I think Joel sort of quite liked it. I mean,
Well,
75% is I think it's overly generous. I would have given it 67.
Given the choice, he would be a ninja. So I think that, it's very tight. It's very Sega. It gives you a skill set. You learn it, and then it's constantly stretching the limits of what you know and having to combine things. And as a result, it's quite a gamer's game, but
Kind of a waste
not
of
a me
opportunity,
game.
isn't it? Really.
Yeah, well, when we heard they were doing Shinobi, so
We got very excited, yeah.
I remember that. Fantastic.
This is basketball without any sort of street at all.
This is NBA 2K3
Oh my goodness
from
me.
Sega.
And, well,
Look at it. Perfectly fine.
I mean, is there a small hardcore of gamers who just religiously buy every single basketball game out there? I really can't see, even with the old Street, who this appeals to.
The old when they were doing DC stuff, the Sega ones are always quite well thought of. American market and very, very limited UK market. It's just about worth their while to stick 5,000 copies into shops.
I suppose with this,
they make a little bit of money on it.
You got the full team, the full license, and everything like that.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
if you're a full fan.
yeah, a good, accurate basketball game if you're a fan. But I think, once again, there were as many basketball fans possibly as there are 2D beat-em-up fans. So,
I think if you're into the sport, or if you're not into the sport, you'd have more fun with Street than this.
yes.
Friend of mine isn't into basketball. I say that because he isn't into basketball and he does play Street, but doesn't play the more serious stuff.
absolutely right.
Because and ultimately, they could just put anybody in. I love it when they say all the new teams, all the right players and stuff, and you kind of, yeah, okay, we'll just take your word for it, because short of the big stars, a lot of these guys don't know them from Adam. So.
I guess it's just like, no, I'm going to generalise crassly if I say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. 5 very tall, bald men throwing a ball around.
This is
just reminds me
NFL 2K3.
Oh.
Mid 80s and crap Channel 4 TV.
Back in the days when they had nothing to put on Channel 4, they hadn't thought of doing all these strange sexual documentaries and stuff. Back in those days, it was the Paul Hogan show and American football. So it takes you back.
And sumo.
Hey, brilliant, fantastic. Late night poker. I'm still doing it. Yeah, no, fine, good. Not as good as the Electronic Arts Madden.
That's the thing, isn't it? If you're going to buy one of these, are you going to buy this or are you going to buy Madden?
Yeah, it's good though. It's good. It's all right, but I mean, there is no space in the UK for the second best American football game.
No.
So yeah, no, Madden. Fine, good, looks good. Looks a lot like the Dreamcast versions that Sega used to knock out every year, which at the time were very impressive. But it hasn't moved on at all. And Electronic Arts they're just the kings at this kind of thing. So so much as it sticks in our throat to say it, they are. Yeah, they know exactly what they're doing.
Well, I
So
mean, the
I
Madden
call it
game's always been pretty traditionally strong, really good game engine, and they've just got the panache to make it shinier and more authentic.
So yeah, American football fans. Are there still American football fans still watching Channel 4? Super Bowl, middle of the night. They must be out there somewhere.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, the London Monarchs, I'm sure they've still got a following.
The Birmingham whatevers.
Birmingham 6.
No.
No.
Yeah. No, they're going to love it. Guildford 4. No, what am I saying?
Well, we really are cranking through my favourite sports at no uncertain rate here, aren't we?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what made me think a lot more about this recently was I saw some shots of one of the cheat modes unlocked, which was Mr. Driller. Mr. Driller on a Mr. Driller motorbike. And I thought, well,
On a drill.
could I be
Yeah.
bothered to play long enough to unlock Mr. Driller? And I thought maybe
It's
that's
Klonoa in the other ones, wasn't it? Klonoa.
That's right, yeah, with his ears flapping.
Yeah, those household names, Klonoa and Mr. Driller.
Yeah.
No, to me, this looks really, really nice.
Well, it is beautiful, isn't it? Two ways about it. But
The best thing, I mean, the MotoGP stuff, because remember when it was out quite sort of early on, the first one was quite out early on in the PlayStation 2's life over here, and Ridge Racer, everyone was very disillusioned and fed up with Ridge Racer, and it was good that MotoGP had a totally different handling type thing, where just having to slow down for the corners, your speed really affects the arc of your swinging around in the corners and stuff, and so a whole new discipline for a driving game basically.
and still beautiful weather effects, you know.
Blazes
A
the
little
standard
shaky
for
cam,
rain
look at that,
effects.
look at the cam,
Yeah.
wicked.
No, it's a good looking thing.
As for as for improvements over MotoGP's 1 and 2, I don't know. The other two look fantastic to me. This looks similarly good.
Yeah. It's a bike going on a track, really, isn't it?
It's
It's got
good.
all the updated stats and everything in all the ride.
Oh.
If you fancy a change from driving cars, you can drive motorbikes. I think 74 is a bit harsh, but that's probably recognising the fact that it hasn't particularly moved on at all. No.
Tour of the World.
Man's inhumanity to man
It's
in video game
It's
form.
about a band who get warped into another dimension where scooters. Here we go.
Johnny, it's not real.
Act like no, it is, and
Let it go.
it made me cry.
This looks Welwick. Have you seen this?
No, look. Those little scooters.
It's not Tony Hawk's, is it?
How irritating
No,
are
it's
those
never,
little
nothing. It's not even Roger Hawks. I didn't enjoy this at all, and I think the thing that annoyed me most was that it's kind of coming across as being quite clean and clever, but the frame rate is atrocious in places. When you've really got a couple of there's boss battles and things like that, but